Boop. Cool. So yeah, I'm not going to go over too much of the previous stuff. We're just going to keep going. We're going to just use it. So I know a lot of people haven't done the previous homework, so that's going to be important to work on the functions, the timeouts and stuff, because we're doing that stuff all the time. But we're going to start learning HTML and CSS as well as JavaScript. I thought we were going to do Discord bot, but I decided probably not because it might be out of. I think some people already, some people probably not. I don't think it's a good project over the holidays because a lot of people are very busy in comparison. So it's, and other people have a lot more free time. So um, I know people want to spend time with their family and stuff. So I thought we'd just keep learning and go further into web dev. We'll do Discord bot in the new year. Um, I know some people are probably familiar with basic HTML and CSS. Uh, for those that don't, neither one of them are programming languages. Um, HTML is a markup language, so it just describes something, like it's like a layout. There's no actual programming. And CSS is for styling stuff. So usually a basic repo will have a JavaScript file, an HTML file, and a CSS file. In the HTML file, you actually lay stuff out. So this is kind of what a basic one looks like. You know, it links to the CSS style sheet, it links to the JavaScript style sheet. And both of those are where we actually write our code. The HTML just kind of lays stuff out. Like you can create a button. I can say my button. If I open the live server, we can see my button, but it doesn't do anything. But HTML is the things you see on a website. So if I go and use this as an example, and I go to my MetaMask there, close that bad boy. We go to an example, we just go to like, Reddit. Everyone loves. Look right there, Superstunk. You love it? Should I use Superstunk as the example? No, in case this goes to YouTube. So we go here. Actually, let's use a better site. Let's use Facebook. No, it's going to be mine. God damn it. Okay, we'll use google.com. I want to use something that has like basic stuff. Okay, so if we go here and go to this page, it's pretty basic. We have things up top here. Everything you see here is HTML, okay? You can right click and inspect it. Go right click and about. And you can see here, we got divs. Links, which are A's, we call them. Links to things. See up here top, you got the HTML page after you inspect it. Everything you see on the page is going to be HTML. But it's very ugly. You notice that my button looks like, that. And this page looks nice. My buttons don't look like the cool Google search buttons. That's because if we right click them, we can go over here and say, how should it look? I need a button here. And if I just make an empty button, it'll look like this. If we right click it here, we can see I've got my button and some standard CSS that styles it. But if I go over here, we can say, oh, the button has a lot of stuff on it. It's got a background color. If I toggle that off, you can see how the color of the buttons change. I'm changing the CSS. Buttons go in and out. Change the border. That's CSS as well. CSS describes how things look. HTML is the thing. JavaScript is the functionality. Those three things make websites. Every website is made with those three. That's it. You can have a back end that you call to, but everything you see on the page is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML is what things are. CSS is how things look. JavaScript is how things work. We can go style my button here, write some CSS. We can target it. We can say, okay, this is going to be button. I'm going to give it an ID, and it's my button in HTML. And now I have a way to refer to just this button. So I go to my CSS file, I can write some CSS, and I can write hashtag my button, which means ID. hashtag means ID, so it'll correspond to this button that I made. And that's how we tag things. We can have IDs or classes in there. And I can say, I don't know, background color, red. And I can open it with the live server. Say with this hideous red button now. Hey, so with that, knowing that HTML is the thing, CSS is how the thing should look, and JavaScript is the functionality, you can do anything you want. I'm going to leave so much of the research up to you because it's actually not hard. It's like how do you change the color of something in CSS? How do you vertically align something in CSS? How do you do this in CSS? Like it's not really programming at all. And truth be told, HTML and CSS are not programming languages. So we're still only using JavaScript to actually run loops and do variables and stuff. CSS is just everything looks like this. It's just, if I want to give it more border radius, like 5 pixels, I can go do that. Okay, go away, MetaMask. And then you see I've got like a border now. It's like more arch. And if I change that border to like 20 pixels, and I go back here, see it's getting more rounded. I made my button ugly as fuck. It's cool. But how do we plug JavaScript into this? We're going to have some homework that's involved writing HTML, writing CSS. I'm not going to go into it in depth at all right now because it's simply just so not programming. You can Google all this yourself and it'll teach you how to research, and it's quite a good practice. All you got to know is HTML is the thing, and it links to a style sheet, which has your CSS. And it has a script tag these are called tags, body, button, script, etc. So we have a script tag that links to our JavaScript file. And everything else is in the HTML, the description. So now that our HTML page knows about the CSS file, knows about the JavaScript file, how do we do something, right? We know JavaScript. We can actually do stuff on the page. Well, we learned about the concept of asynchronous programming last time. The reason we started learning asynchronous programming, and the reason that we will continue really heavily into asynchronous programming, is almost everything on the page is asynchronous. I think you guys might agree. You load a page up and then nothing happens, and then you have to do stuff. It waits for user events. Like when I click a button, something should happen. That's asynchronous, right? We need the thing to happen when you click the button, not just run this file top to bottom, then exit the file when it's done. Like that would be insane. Everything on the page would fire off at once. Like I can show you an example of that. If I go to my thing here and I change this to index first, so I was working on this stuff. Now if I put the index or JavaScript, I can use the alert function right off the bat, and I can just say hello. So, boom, hello, right off the bat. Very annoying. As soon as I saved my file, it reloaded automatically, and it says alert, hello. I can still use console.log. And so right on the page refreshes, it logs the console. I can click here, right click, inspect element, inspect, and then click the console. And I see hello. So we still have access to the output, the terminal that we were doing before. But how do I actually wait for user input? We want to plug some JavaScript code into the HTML and kind of live and don't run, just wait. And we do it with event lister. So I can say the page itself is called a document. That's the whole website you're at. And it comes with a lot of handy methods you guys will use a lot, like add event listener. We can add an event listener to a page. It takes 2 arguments. One is what type of event we want to listen for, and I can say click. And the other one is what do you want to happen when something clicks? So I can pass in a function, just like we have been, these asynchronous callbacks, right? Whenever a user clicks the document anywhere on the page, I want to do something. We can just say alert, click the page, right? So I reload that and go back. You see, I don't get my alert anymore. When I click the page, I do. Click the page. It happened over and over every time. Click the page, click the page, click the page. That's really powerful stuff because you can now just basically make an entire app out of this. Like truly, 90%, I'd say over 90% of websites you see are just this. It's versions of this. It's just, here's a button. When I click the button, do something. Like I mean, that's most websites. Like I can even do this. I can say, I have MetaMask installed, so I have access to window.ethereum in my JavaScript code because that's injected into the page. So I can get approval from MetaMask and prompt MetaMask to sign into the page with just this code here. When you click the document anywhere, I don't care where, do a request to window.ethereum. So on click, run this function, which is kind of similar to what we've been doing a little bit, passing these arbitrary functions. Even like the array filtering, the array sorting that we did in the last homework, that's all very similar stuff, passing in a callback to a function. It's the same thing. So if I go here, and I go back to this, I click the page, oh, a MetaMask prompt, and I can sign in. That's crazy. Like, with just that little bit of code, I can sign into MetaMask, right? And you can imagine doing other things, sending transactions, getting NFTs, getting balance. For those of you that did the Ethers homework, right? As soon as they've given permission to me to use this account, this method request account, be window Ethereum, I can use the Ethers library to like get my balance. Because you guys already know how to do that. You've done that. Now I know the user's address, right? Usually it's like this. And then I can use .then. Actually, that's what I need to do. .then. And when that promise resolves from requesting the accounts, I can log it to the console. Oops. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's the right syntax, but we can try. Yes, look, I've got it. So you didn't see a MetaMask pop up that time because I've already given this website approval. Just like, when you guys go to your favorite cultist marketplace and after you've already approved it, you just click sign in, you get the address right away. You can see I get an array of my currently authenticated address. So it's that easy to get it. And then I can, now that we have the address in the .then, we could replace that with a full function. I could be like, use the Ethers library to get the user's balance and display it to the page. And, that's going to be part of the homework, that kind of stuff. It really is that easy. And then, say now that we have that, we've had the user's address, we can do a lot of stuff. You can use Ethers, you can display the address to the page. You can pass it into different various APIs to get a user's NFTs. That's how the Panda site works. We want to play a game. I have a code that requests when you click the button. I have a code that requests the method from the Phantom wallet, which is, window.phantom instead of window.ethereum. And then once that resolves in the .then on my page, I will use your address because you've let me have it from the secureness of MetaMask. I will pass it into a different API library that I got from NPM that gets me NFTs by address. And then I display your pandas. And then, when I display each panda, I add another click event. And I say, when you click the panda, that selects the panda for the game that you want to play. And then when you play the game, I use that image. It's just a series of events in a row. It's all just this. It's all just this different times, asynchronous programming. And I could run anything here. It doesn't have to be window.ethereum.request. I can run any code I want in this click handler, right? So we're going to be focusing a lot on the JavaScript part of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in the lectures. CSS you can learn and bash your head through, and we'll go into it a little bit later to like make stuff really pretty. But I'll be straight up. I'm not much of a front end designer. I've done a lot of it, but I'm not very good at it. It is a full other skill to do that, to make a really responsive, really great designed website. Uh, you know, Spike is large. I do a lot of the logic in the stuff that I do, even in pandas and stuff. And Spike will do the website and design. And it's a hard job to write the CSS for that on its own, and to make it can get quite hairy and complicated. And I usually just have someone else do a lot of that for me. I still know it, so I'm still going to teach a lot of it, but it's definitely not my my wheelhouse. So we're going to be focusing a lot on the JavaScript side of things. The other thing is, say I want to use a library in this file. So I want to say npm install -- save ethers. I want to use the ethers library. With Node, we could just do this. With the Node JavaScript we were running, we could get this ethers is equal to require ethers. Okay, we could just do that. But now you're going to see here, look, require is not defined. We can't use require in browser-based JavaScript. Peter, relax. Peter, all done. So, Peter, all done, buddy. So we can't use require. So we actually use an npm library called browserify to do this for us. So we do npm install -- save browserify. We're going to get quite used to using npm. I can say I want to browserify. Oh, I don't have it. Ah, there we go. So I can do npm run build, I believe. Yes. So we've added in. So a lot of JavaScript is old. I'll be honest, it's like a 25-year-old language. So to use modern stuff like, require or async await instead of .then, you have to use what's called a bundler. And we use browserify. And browserify is and kind of don't worry about setting this up, because I'll provide you a repo with it set up to get past the hurdle and confusion of this at the beginning. I'll be pushing this repo. But we define a script here in our package.json, and we say when I run build, call browserify, run it on index.javascript, and then output it as bundle.javascript. So if we take our index here, and I do npm run build, just like we were at npm install, but now we've made our own little custom script here, build with browserify. When I run that, I can now see I have bundle.javascript, and it's got a bunch of nonsense you'll never need to worry about, a bunch of crazy, stupid nonsense. It's all just compiled down, basically. But now we can use modern stuff in our index.javascript. And you're going to get used to this pattern as well. So now I can say I want to include the bundle. And if I view my page, I can see that the require is not defined, is gone. One of the really annoying things about JavaScript is how old it is and how they're trying to keep it modern. It's not very fun to teach it because it sounds so stupid and you get sidetracked all the time, and it's not very fun to use it. I'll be totally honest. JavaScript is an old language, and it's got so many new things added, and not everything supports them. So that's the reason we have to use bundlers like browserify. There's a million of them. You may have heard of them. Gulp, Webpack, Rollup. There's a whole bunch of different ones. We use this one because it's the simplest. It's one line for what we're trying to do. But it lets us use all the stuff we were just using in the terminal in a browser. That's the main difference. Before, we had only run it in the terminal, and the terminal doesn't have to interpret JavaScript. You're just telling it exactly what to do, and it's fine. Browsers, they have to write a JavaScript interpreter. So they're often very old, out of date, and very complicated to write. So what Browserify does is it takes this code and it basically compiles it down into something the browser can read. You'll never need to look at this file. If this file looks ridiculous, it should. No one ever has to look. It's just compiled. And every time you rerun build, it gets regenerated. So you don't need to look at it. It's going to be huge and ridiculous. But your file can remain small and you can use stuff. So first off, let's go back here and let's see if we can get this working. So if I console.log the address, and remember we're listening to an on-click event on the document. We want to run this function, which is, hey, let's try and connect to MetaMask. And if we get it, we goes to .then, and we have the address. It's combining a bunch of stuff we've been learning. Multiple forms of asynchronous programming in one. An event, which is whenever I click, and that goes on to the function. What do I want to run when I click the document? And I'll, window.ethereum.request, which is something there. I can do anything here, though. If I wanted to get rid of this and just, change the color of a button, I could do that. Sometimes you click something and open a drop down, right, on a website. You open a hamburger menu or something. You can do anything in the on-click event. We're just using this as an example. But then we're using once we get the request, we are using the .then syntax, which I think a lot of people find still very confusing, rightfully so. But the more you write it, the reason I'm doing a complicated example from the beginning with the .then here and the Ethereum request is instead of using async await or something like this, which we kind of understood a little bit more before, which is an alternative for this, as I mentioned last time, is every concept in programming is confusing. And the only way they get less confusing is by writing the code. Like a couple weeks ago, nobody here could declare a variable. They were very confused. They didn't know what a string is. And then now people are getting confused on .then and how to sort arrays properly. It's huge progress in cognitive load. The only way you got there is because you have to write a variable constantly, no matter what you're doing. And we're going to take that same approach to almost everything. So as soon as we learn .then and callbacks and stuff like this, we're going to be writing them all the time because it's not going to get easier not doing them. So we're leaping right into this example. So we know with the ethers library, which we used before for part of the homework, we can get a balance. So to show you guys what it looks like to Google, again, do some research. I can say ethers get balance. Go to the documentation. How to get started. Yeah, they tell us to do that. Yeah, we did that. We've done this. Oh, it's cool. See? And if you're ever poking around this yourself, it tells you exactly how to use the library to connect to window.ethereum directly. So now you can do it with the library instead of just using window.ethereum if you want or something. It's quite cool that they do that. So I think what we can actually do is skip signing up for an Infura account. What is up with their docs? Like, see, this is a great example. Their CSS here is fucked. Do you see how it, their menu overlaps with this? They have the HTML on the page. They've got the right color and looks great on white, but they're lacking some CSS that makes this blue part over top of the text, because now you get this weird text color thing, right?
Is it because the page isn't maximized?
It doesn't matter. It should be responsive, right?
No, I agree. I'm just wondering. Because it looks like the left bar isn't changing. It's not resizing.
Yeah, that's their exact issue. Is it's not fully responsive. So it should look good on every then that's one of the main challenges, and something I'm bad at, and something I usually defer to someone like Spike on. Some people really like that. The people who are more visually focused, right, usually go into front end development and love making that responsive. See, now you can see it's not doing it. So they have a very weird CSS rule on the page. But it's also kind of something I can talk about really quickly is like where you go with programming. A lot of people like the front end and they like design and they like making it look snazzy and they feel it very rewarding to make that. And I usually try and like put it off to someone else entirely. I like the logic and the programming, the loops, the feeling when you get like, you know, a bug solved that you don't really get from the front end development. Like that's usually my thing. So this can give me a provider via a Web3 provider from Ethers. You guys already did this before, but now we're going to use window.ethereum to do it. So I can copy and paste that in, but I can say, give me a provider using window.ethereum. Before I had you guys make an Infura key, which is a node, and you guys had to put the URL of your node in here. Now you don't need to do that. You don't need to register for Infura because MetaMask is a node. You can send requests to it. So if the user allows us to connect to MetaMask, we can send Ethereum requests directly to that. It's the same thing with the GameStop wallet, right? When you connect to the GameStop wallet page, how does it do all this stuff? Well, it doesn't call Infura or anything. It calls the GameStop wallet, and the GameStop wallet serves the requests back to you via promises. So we can kind of think of the same thing. So now instead of window.ethereum, I can say provider, and I can send those requests directly to MetaMask. Oh, they want me to use this .send syntax though. See, oh, it's funny when you alt tab back, it's broken. It's actually their JavaScript that's broken. I think. So let's see if this still gives me the address, the stuff that I just got from Ethers. Oops, I need to do npm run build because that will build my bundle to let me use the Ether stuff in the browser. And it no longer works.
Pick.
Pardon me? What's that, Hans?
Just laughing at it.
Oh. Oh, it is working. Never mind. I had an old loaded version of it. So we get the address when I click. So it looks like, you know, I'll run you through how I would actually build out this feature where I want to display the thing to the page, and then we can end it there. And I'll give some homework related around just Googling, learning, and researching this over the holidays while you guys have downtime. So I've got my provider from MetaMask. Let's say this provider is a Ethereum provider, and we create it with window.ethereum, which is how we access MetaMask in code. The window Ethereum object is available if a user has MetaMask installed. We can call the .send method on the provider and tell it what we want to request accounts. This is how we get MetaMask's approval for a certain website. So, you know, whenever you get, I'm sure you guys know about like the NFT scams and the NFT rugs and stuff that happen. And it's usually because you grant this permission, this eth request accounts permission to the wrong website. And then they can start sending you requests. And then you sign something stupid. So each website has to authenticate with this directly. It's basically saying how to authenticate with MetaMask. So I can send the request accounts, and then I get back an address. But what I actually think I get back is an array of addresses. So I do. So let's call this addresses. And let's say const address is the first element in that array. You can kind of see my development process I got to run build. I log stuff out to the console just constantly as I'm building, and that means, you know, I never write more than a couple lines of code without logging it to the console. Oh, there we go. Addresses 0. I'm going to console.log the address. Make sure I got the address correctly, right? Build. When it's done, we can go back to the page. Hey, I've got the single string address now. It's no longer an array with these. So I did it. So that's good. And I can say, okay, I want to get the balance, which is what I was doing before. So I'll go back to the documentation and everything will be stuck. Oh, that's cool. And I can balance is equal to await provider.get balance. So I can use that. So I have my provider. So I want to do provider.get balance. I want to pass in the address because that's the one MetaMask gave me. And we're not going to use async and await yet, even though it's cleaner. We are going to learn the .then version. There are a lot of times where you can only use it. So instead of balance is equal to await, we got to do provider get balance and then .then balance. We can say console.log the balance. Oops, and I got to run build. I can't wait for all the people who try this and forget to run build because I do it fucking constantly. So I click the page. Hey, cool. I've got a balance. It's a big number, which is how we represent very large numbers. So I need to convert it to a string to log it out. And then I can actually read it. Cool. I have a very large balance because that's my fake testnet Tycho balance. But you can see we've got my address and my balance. And now if I wanted to display it to the page, I could. I have those two values. I have the user's address and the balance, And if we go to like the bridge that I worked on, like Tycho I can't even remember. Testnet Tycho, is that the URL? No, it's not. It's bridge. So you can see I have that same logic here. Like I'm here, and I click connect wallet. I pick MetaMask. Boom, and I sent the request to MetaMask. Oh, and it shows my balance now, right? My address. Like I showed you guys this before, but this is literally the same code we just wrote, and that's like production, and they pay you to write it. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a job to do this. This is literally the same thing. We just connected to MetaMask when you clicked something, and then got the address, and then got the balance. And after this, like the world is your oyster. If you go back to like once you get the hang of that, you can go back to like the documentation. And now that we have the instance of this provider, which seems to be the main class that Ethers provides you, they want you to make a provider. And once you do that with this, you have all these methods on it that you can call. And you can call get signer, get block number, get balance. You can format Ether if you want. You can send transactions for people to sign. That's like a Web3 app, is learning how to deal with that, learning what all of that means. Like, it's not hard to do. It's hard to understand is the thing about a lot of the more higher paying programming jobs in general. Is you're always doing the same thing, right? We're still just doing functions and functions on objects, which is the document, like console.log. We have document.add event listener. We're still just requiring packages. None of this is magic. We're declaring variables and we're accessing stuff from arrays. None of this is magic. We've done all this multiple times now. Only the promises should really be new to people. But combining those things gets you this. In like 20 lines of code, I can get a user's Ethereum address and a balance. And I can start working on a dApp. And then I could, decide what I want to do and go from there. And I have access to everything I need in this file ready to get started. And then I can decide to make it pretty, right? Like, I'm so fucking bad at CSS. But like, you can do whatever you want with CSS. Maybe like the green button. I don't know, like a hex code color. It's the reason I have spike. I go back and now it's green, and like maybe when you click the button you change the color of it. That's a common for website. Or when you hover over it, that's all CSS. So I'll give a homework assignment, and it's going to have a lot of CSS in it, but I'm not going to be covering a lot of it in the class. It's going to be up for you to Google, because there's nothing. Me talking about CSS or HTML is going to do nothing that Google can't. You don't need to dumb down these concepts and explain them to people. It's like static files. Like if you can write a markdown file, like a README, you can write CSS and HTML. It's just knowing what the different elements are. There's like a button. There's unordered. There's lots of unordered lists. Let's say list item. We can go take a look at what an unordered list and a list look, and now it's got a little bullet on it. You see those on websites too. I can make more. We can make another list item. Like none of this is programming. It's just going to be what's the name of the tag? What do you want it to do? And then add an ID to it, and then style it in CSS and make it look at how you want, right? Maybe I want all my list items to have borders. So I could be like, every list item is going to have a border. It's going to be 1 pixel, solid, and black. No, it didn't even work. Fuck, I'm so terrible at CSS. No, maybe I need to go, black. There we go. Hey, I did it. I'm goated. But now you can see my list items all have borders. Easy stuff. I'm going to push up I'm going to remove some stuff from this repo, but I'm going to leave a subfolder in that has a working example of it. But then the base folder is going to be, the one where you should be working. But I'm going to push up a small working example of some really basic stuff. But the homework over the holidays will be a lot of, do your own research of HTML, CSS, and reusing a lot of the same JavaScript concepts we already know, but really diving deep and reinforcing them. And we're going to, part of the homework is going to be making like a small web app. And you're all going to be having something interactive by the time you come back from the holidays, which is going to be fun because before we've just been in the terminal, but now we are going to be making actual apps. And this is where it gets, this is where the people who really start understanding it and put a lot of time in will be able to already start making small portfolio pieces eventually, like, within a couple of weeks. Because once you get the same concept down, you just iterate on this over and over and over and over and over. Like, I can't express how much this hideous site that we have now is a beginning of a DApp, as long as you style the button appropriately and start doing stuff with the information you're getting. The hard part is learning this that we started with first, is how to do that stuff and do the JavaScript. If we spent 3 hours writing CSS and HTML right now, we could have the outline of a web app and have a nice connect wallet button and display the address and the balance and the current block number and current gas fees and blah, 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 and the user's NFTs. Even if you go to like that one, what's that one site? And it's like cyberhorsey.f.xyz. Is it that? Yeah, this website. The one that shows an address and all their NFTs. Kind of like, I guess, I can't remember what the Solana one is called. Not digitalized, but yeah, you know what I mean? There's that one website people look at people's addresses and see stuff. This is all they're doing. They're doing the same fucking thing. Look, we could do this part. If we styled CSS, we could already do this part. Like, if we have the law, we did the hard part. All we could do is like change make it bold and stuff. Like, it's not even programming. And we could get URL. We could do 80% of this page already. Then all you need to do is, use Ether's library or a different library or whatever you want to get the NFTs of an address in here, because we have the address. So it's probably like a couple more lines. And then like you can do this website. People use this fucking website all the time. And it's like a strong portfolio piece. And if you just want to spend the time to design something, you can do this. And then that's a job. Like, you got to be good and shit hot at it. To do it yourself. You don't have to do it to junior, but like, this is the stuff we're doing, like, is a work from home job that fucking slaps. And I know it's confusing, but I just want to reiterate, because we're not going to have a lesson for a week, that like, it's just about the time you put in. And if you want to get a good, high paying, fun job. Like you've seen just today the basics of this really shitty version of what that looks like at a professional level, to actually get real world use case stuff. And if you like that, you think you can do it more and do it better, then you can definitely make it at this job, or at least have like a fun portfolio piece. Um, so I'll push something up tonight, but that's about it. I meant to do it short, but it actually ran super long. It's one of the longer ones. Right. Um, any general questions or anything before I cut the recording and then upload it?
Yeah, can you throw all that stuff into like the npm stuff before building it, like into like a README or something?
Yeah, I'm gonna add. I'll add a README here.
All right.
I haven't started it yet. Also need to add a git ignore. Because I haven't pushed it up yet.
Because I wrote down some of this stuff. I just want to make sure I could like install it in that.
Yeah, I'll definitely. Yeah, just like everyone, it'll always have a README.
All right.
Just like the other one and the exercises and stuff. But yeah, Neil, you kind of you get it a little bit, or is it over your head right now? Or
I mean, I've screwed around with making like websites and stuff before. Even as bad as it is, I made the one from scratch for Burbs. So I mean, like I kind of understand a little bit of it, but it is one of those things where if you start looking it up, you can understand it pretty damn easy. If you know what you're looking for, you can find it.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's literally
JavaScript still is like, I mean, I'm getting it. I just picked up my 2 books today too, so I got that shit, but I'm getting it. I'm getting it better. Like I could tell you what a string is now, and I could tell you what an object is. You know what I mean? So
Oh hell yeah, that's good to hear. You're totally right on the HTML and CSS thing, where the only limit is your ability to type something specific enough into Google. Like, like and there's literally almost no understanding when it comes to CSS and HTML. It's just how do you find what you want and then get it. So I forgot you made the Burbs website though, so that'll be fine. Um, Anyone else any concerns before we go on break for a week? I'll be around the whole week. I'm not doing fucking anything. So if anyone's around and needs help, I'll still be around. But if no one has anything else, we can leave. Okay, I'll upload stuff. Ciao, guys.